Another corpse thrown in the streets. Someone's playing a very sick game.
You again? What do you want?
Did you see what just happened?
No, I didn't. And I don't care.
Really? Why is that?
Because this sexist pig is one of the 4 men who blacklisted me. Good riddance, if you ask me.
Well, I'll leave you for now. Goodbye, Miss Paxton.
Glad to see you again, Mr. Reed.
Did you see what happened?
No. I was coming back to the shelter from work when I heard an awful scream, and there was this man, dead, just in front of the building.
You saw nothing at all?
No, I told you, just that awful woman's scream.
A woman scream? Are you sure?
Of course. It was terrifying. I thought it was my sister, so I ran. But it was a man I've never seen round here before.
Goodbye, Miss Paxton. Good evening, Mr. Throgmorton.
Dr. Reed, can I be of any assistance? Have you noticed anything suspicious lately?
Did you see what happened to him?
Actually, yes. He was thrown from the roof like a vulgar log.
Why is it that you sound so afraid?
You didn't see it. He was dead before he hit the ground. The strength required to do such a thing, well, it beggars belief.
Who could have done that?
Who? Well, a vampire, of course. Look, bite marks on the neck and lacerations here. There is definitely a vampire close by.
Goodbye, and good hunting, Mr. Throgmorton.
I know this brooch. This is my mother's. A birthday gift from father. "29 Pretty Orchard Street. That's near Poplar's district. Why would this man carry off my mother's brooch? I must go there.
Welcome back to my humble shelter, Dr. Reed. Are you here to subdue me again?
No, Sean. I just came by to see how you are.
I feel all right. Why'd you ask?
Are you still feeding on corpses?
No. It's almost as though the blood you forced me to drink has provided me eternal satisfaction.
How is the sanitary situation in this part of town?
I think it's acceptable. Fewer cases of sickness recently. I thank the Lord for his mercy.
How are things in your shelter? Between the mortals and the immortals, I mean.
Even if we're all children of God, I've always maintained a strict frontier between the two communities.
What do you fear?
A few years ago, a Skal decided to pay a nocturnal visit to my sleeping customers. He got caught licking their necks in the dark. Since then, I have added a lock to the door.
What if food became scarce? Wouldn't the immortals in your flock be tempted to feed on the living? Wouldn't you?
The Skals can feed on the dead, Doctor. And until Judgment Day, mortals will continue dying.
How did you meet old Bridget?
When younger, I used to patrol the streets at night, searching for lost souls. This is how I met her. It took me 2 months just to get her name. Now we support each other.
Had you already visited their hideout in the sewers?
Just once, and very briefly. Most of them are very discreet, and they see me as an outsider, even if I protect them.
You really are a saint, Sean.
Oh, no, sir, I'm not. But I know evil, and I believe goodwill and tenacity can make this world a better place.
Would you let me listen to your chest, Sean?
No, Dr. Reed. You already forced me to drink your blood, and I thank you for that, for I feel better now. But it was quite an unpleasant experience.
It would help me greatly if you would allow me to give you a physical examination.
I said no. I'm no subject of medical examination, and I intend only to obey and to kneel before God.
Have you seen Harriet Jones since taking her to Old Bridget?
No. She is with the sewer Skals now. I don't go downstairs.
What happened at the Pembroke?
I guess we recognized each other. As Skals, I mean. She had but one thought. To punish. To get revenge upon everything and everyone. I realized I had to bring her here quickly.
But why did she fake her own death? There was so much blood in her room. She attacked patients, too.
I just lost her for a minute that night. When I found her, she had caused mayhem across the hospital. I slapped some sense into her, and we fled before getting caught.
What happened then?
We ran here through narrow streets and backyards. She kept saying that someone was talking to her in the dark, offering to avenge her. But I saw nobody.
Farewell, Sean. Take good care of your flock, and of yourself.
Glad to see you again, Mr. Reed.
Goodbye, Miss Paxton. Good evening, sir. I'm glad to see you safe.
I am not safe. I should never have come back here. My life is in danger. I know it.
You're much safer here than in that contaminated area.
Bullets kill people quicker than diseases and epidemics, Dr. Reed.
Do you have recent news of Sean Hampton's shelter?
I heard he kept on helping people, but I tried to stay away from his shelter. I don't feel safe there.
What can you tell me about this district?
The East End Docks only knows one rule. Dog eat dog, and blood calls for blood. The gang will have their revenge on me one way or another.
What can you tell me about the locals?
Most people would say that Sean Hampton and Tom Watts are good men who try to sort things out. But for me, the real boss around there was my best friend, Jack Gillingham.
Jack Gillingham, you say?
Everyone round there knew Jack. He was a rock. A mountain even. He feared nothing.
Your friend Jack has something to do with you fleeing to the contaminated area where I found you. I want to know more.
Jack is dead. That's all you need to know. Dead because of me. So much violence. So much sorrow. All of that because I refused to be insulted again.
No man can predict the exact outcome of his actions. It's the curse we have to live with. We can only gamble and do what we think is best.
Perhaps you're right. The district was doomed before I was born. But I cannot stop myself thinking that Jack died for me.
Why do you say that?
After I killed that gang member, the wet boot boy suspected Jack. And being loyal and all, he did not refute the accusation.
The death of your friend has affected you deeply, hasn't it?
Jack Gillingham was the real deal. He believed we could change the world if we were united and focused enough. And he brought out the best in each of us.
You're right. He died to save you. That alone gives me an idea of the kind of man he was.
He was the bravest. And no one dares to say openly that he got killed by those bastards.
Your friend's plan was audacious, if not reckless. No one stands up by themselves to a gang like the Wet Boot Boys.
How dare you say that? You never met him.
You are not going to spend the rest of your life hiding, Rodney. What are you planning to do?
Honestly, I have no idea. How am I supposed to live while so many have suffered because of me?
Only you can answer that question. But one thing is certain. Since you owe Jack your life, I think it's fair to live it in a way that would make him proud.
That's the kind of thing Jack could have said, Dr. Reed. Thank you for that. I believe you're a good guy too.
Goodbye, Mr. Grader. Take care. Good evening, young man.
There's no need to call me that, Dr. Reed.
Have you heard anything recently concerning Sean Hampton's shelter?
He keeps investing time helping the poor and sick. Good for him. And for them.
Goodbye. Good evening, Miss Gillingham. May I come in?
Of course, of course. So, Dr. Tippets, what brings you back here? We haven't talked in quite some time.
Have you heard anything recently concerning Sean Hampton's shelter?
I've never heard that name before, I'm afraid.
What can you tell me about this part of town?
Oh, no. I don't gossip. That would be most unbecoming of a lady such as myself.
Is anyone taking care of you, Miss Gillingham?
My son is always here to take care of me. He's a good boy like that, but I do worry that he needs to start living his own life. I would never say that to him, of course.
Who are the more influential figures on the docks?
Well, I heard about some terrible illness going around. I would say in that case that it's you, Dr. Tippets.
Tell me, Enid, why do you feel guilty about your son?
I know I'm a burden to my Jack. I know my mind and my thoughts are drifting away. I'm so sorry. I can't help it.
This is not your doing, Miss Gillingham. You do not have to apologize for your condition.
Of course I don't, Doctor. I've done nothing wrong, I swear it. What exactly are we talking about here?
Enid, have you really no idea what happened to your son? No idea at all?
I've not seen Jack for so long. I lose track of time. Has something bad happened to him?
Jack is dead, Miss Gillingham.
Of course he's not. I've seen him. Tonight, in fact. Ever the joker, Dr. Tippets.
Miss Gillingham, why did you give Martin Nightingale the watch I returned to you?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I suppose I thought he needed a watch more than I did. I have no reason to really keep track of time anymore.
Why don't you need to keep track of time?
I've spent my entire life marching to the tick of clocks and the ringing of bells. At my age, it's nice to finally be rid of those burdens. On my time.
But it was your son's watch, Miss Gillingham.
It was, wasn't it? I'm relieved you found it. Besides, it's more useful to him anyway.
Goodbye, Miss Gillingham.
I'm sorry to say, but you haven't yet paid me for the clock I brought you last time.
The clock? Oh, yes. I found a broken clock in the living room and I couldn't remember where it came from.
You broke it? Ah, that is unfortunate. It was such a beautiful piece of work.
Really? Oh, I'm so clumsy these days. I'm so sorry. How much was it?
This'll be enough. I can't make you pay the whole price if it's broken.
That's so kind of you. I'm going to make some tea now.
It will be enough until the next time you forget it, you old bat.
I'm the one who should be grateful, my dear boy.
Good evening, young man.
There's no need to call me that, Dr. Reed.
It's time to confess, Martin. You've exploited Miss Gillingham's weakness to your own advantage, have you not?
All I've done is smile at her and be kind to her. I've done no other harm than giving her what she needed. This is no crime.
You really are convinced you did nothing wrong? Young man, you are a fascinating case of shameless selfishness.
You can blame my folks for that. They taught me never to expect nothing from anyone except lies.
So it's bad parenting then? How convenient. Where are your parents?
6 feet under, I suppose. When the flu had weakened my father enough for him to be too weak to punch me, I figured it was time to run away.
Is that why you let them die of the flu? Because your father was beating you?
When the epidemic started, last summer, I begged them to leave town. Neighbors were dying, houses were looted, but they chose to stay.
Do you have any regrets about what happened?
I haven't got regrets, but sometimes I'd like to make sure they're gone. Dead for good. Like, it helps me sleep.
Goodbye. Good evening, Miss Gillingham. May I come in?
Of course, of course. Oh, Dr. Tippets. What brings you back here? We haven't talked in quite some time.
Enid, listen to me. You must not trust Martin Nightingale. Do you understand?
Martin reminds me so much of my Jack. I've not seen him here in quite some time.
Martin is not your son, Miss Gillingham. He's taking advantage of you.
No, Martin is not my son. My son's name is Jack. He always takes such good care of me. Who is this Martin you speak of?
Please listen. Martin is a young man who extorts money from you. Because of your vulnerability, miss.
What are you attempting, Dr. Tippets? If this is some kind of new experimental procedure, well, I do not like it one bit.
Goodbye, Miss Gillingham. Good evening, Mr. Woodbeat.
Good evening to you, my young doctor.
Do you have any recent news on Sean Hampton's shelter?
The man is still here. He's trying to help others despite the terrible things he endured. I'm impressed.
Goodbye, sir.
You still working at this hour? That's what I call dedication.
Have you heard anything about Sean Hampton's shelter?
I was told he caught a deadly disease but survived against all odds. Maybe he really is touched by grace.
Goodbye, Miss Cavendish.
I should have. Welcome back, Doctor. What can I do for you?
Have you got any recent news on Sean Hampton's shelter?
It's still there, just like the turquoise turtle. That means there is still hope, somehow.
Goodbye, Mr. Watts.
Times like these are good.
Good evening, Mr. Delaney.
What? Ah, you're that doctor.
Do you have any recent news of Sean Hampton's shelter?
I still sleep over there from time to time. The sad saint still manages the place, even if he's a little bit more reclusive since he returned.
Goodbye, Mr. Delaney.
Shut the turquoise for a time.
Good evening, Mr. Fishman.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything recently about Sean Hampton's shelter?
I don't give a rat's arse about Sean Hampton, his shelter, or any of the losers who sleep there.
Goodbye, Mr. Fishburne. Evening, Rufus.
Evening, Mr. Reed.
Heard anything about Sean Hampton's shelter lately?
Well, I heard that Mr. Hampton has been very sick, but now he's better.
So long, Rufus. Be careful. Take care.
Am I really cursed? It would explain so much.
Good evening, Mrs. Fishburne. May I come in, please?
Of course. Dr. Reed. Those grew eyes in the back of that head, sir. What can I do for you, Dr. Reed?
Do you have any news about Sean Hampton's shelter?
I just heard the sad saint keeps on helping the sick and poor. God bless his soul.
Goodbye, Miss Fishburne. Take care of yourself.
I'm not sure the epidemic is what worries people most these days.
Good evening, Miss Cox.
Hello again, Dr. Reed. What do you want?
Have you got any news about Sean Hampton's shelter?
As long as he keeps on helping the poor, I'll keep my boys at bay, even if he pisses them off.
Can I see what you have to sell?
As long as you have money, I'll show you all I have. Foolish girl and her pretty principles.
I must look a fool. Heartens me to know you can't see me, my sweet queen. Perhaps we should have listened to what the idiot had to say first. You again, what do you want?
Have you heard anything about Sean Hampton's shelter?
That bastard's become something of a holy man these days. And someone should remind him who really rules the docks.
Goodbye, Mr. Digby.
It is good to see you again, Jonathan. How are you?
I'm better than one might expect, Lady Ashbury. Dr. Swansea has asked me to investigate the recent disturbances in the hospital, caused by skulls.
Really? What do you mean?
I discovered the most intriguing skull. An elderly woman answering to the name of Old Bridget, and a man who helps them remain hidden in London.
Old Bridget? Peculiar name, I've never heard of her.
According to Old Bridget, skulls can lead a peaceful existence like us. They are even able to nourish themselves by feeding on corpses and the flesh of the dead.
How vile. Please, Jonathan, let's change the subject.
Skulls of London have gone into hiding. Both mortals and immortals plot their extermination.
Yes. Skulls are the orphans of the Vampire Society. They are the shame of their genitors, a disgrace to the vampire that created them.
There is something ominous closing around me, Lady Ashbury. Something spies upon me from the shadows. Something cruel and wicked.
Whatever do you mean, Jonathan?
If Sean Hampton and Harriet were not the guilty parties, then who? I saw the bodies and the blood.
Your rebirth has not gone unnoticed, Jonathan. Be extremely careful. If you get in the way of an immortal's plans...
Do you suspect someone?
I don't know, Jonathan. I steer clear of vampire politics, especially whilst hunters roam the city's streets.
Goodbye for now, my lady.
The Pembroke is so lucky to have Dr. Reed. I met him in New York once.
If only there were more...
Jonathan, at last. I've been worried sick. Have you solved the case of our poor Sean Hampton?
Don't worry, Edgar. The reputation of Pembroke Hospital is secure. Sean Hampton was not the guilty party.
Is that true? Oh, good news. Good news indeed.
I found Harriet Jones. She's much the same old, embittered woman she was, only she's been made a skull. Her transformation did not go well.
Incredible. Why not bring her here?
We could learn so much by studying her condition. It would be fascinating.
I doubt that. She can barely move. Perhaps we could learn more about the degeneration of skulls.
Perhaps. But she could also belong to a new species. We know so little of the laws that dictate vampire reproduction.
Were there any studies made by your order on the subject?
Not that I'm aware of. I will transmit your discovery to the Brotherhood's primate. He will be delighted.
Does the name Old Bridget ring any bells?
I'd never heard of her. Why? A patient of ours? I must confess, I don't know them all.
No, it's just someone I recently met. A fascinating woman. I had thought that perhaps...
By the stole, Jonathan, you've met another vampire. I would appreciate an introduction, if that's the case.
What do you know of the Ascalon Club?
Not as much as I would like. There have always been rumors about a secret society of vampires operating in the interests of the British Empire, though I've never met a member.
I crossed paths with one. A terrifying creature going by the name of Fergal. He was sent by the Ascalon Club to exterminate the Skulls of the East End.
By the stole, Jonathan. If vampires are eliminating their own progeny, then dark times are upon us. Darker than I've ever witnessed.
Do you think Lady Ashbury would know of them?
Jonathan, our beloved lady is not one for social dalliances, nor the assemblies of dark orders. She's a woman of superior taste and selective acquaintance.
A pleasure as always, Edgar.
Where does this blood trail lead? "29 Pretty Orchard Street. This is it. What's in there for me?" There's been a fight here. This window was shattered with violent force. Someone's been pulled through it and dragged through the street. Who could have done that?
Stop! Right now! Lead straight! What? Crush the lead! No!
To let her inspire and be found here.
You're surprising. Occasionally, you make a good point.
How's that?
We're being misled. Or worse.
Get them weapons ready! We found one! Remember your vows, friends! We have a killer! Stop!
The marks on this woman's neck were made by the fangs of a vampire. This is the very flower my mother tossed on Mary's coffin. Someone is targeting my family. Only a golden watch in her pockets. Her shoes and clothes are quite worn out.
I see you.
Right then. It's a sick game. But given no choice in the matter, I might as well win it.
Jonathan.
What was that? I won't let you escape. You're very fast, but I'll catch you. They've all been butchered.